Hello, everybody, and welcome back to PandaCast. My name is Rainbow Panda, and today I'm going to be talking about a couple different things, all kind of in the realm of LGBTQ plus wrestling. So the first thing that I'm going to talk about, which is probably going to be the majority of the podcast, is this awesome event that I went to on February 6th, which at the time of recording this was last Thursday, and it was MV Young's No Rules, No Ring Fashion Week Deathmatch extravaganza. Now, it sounds insane, and let me tell you, as somebody that was so excited the day that it got announced, it was so worth all of the hype. And the second thing that I'm going to talk about is going to be Nyla Rose. She last night won the AEW women's title, and I just want to talk a little bit about that and why I think people are very much overreacting and they just need to get over a few things. So to start, I want to talk about MV Young and the fashion show deathmatch event that he created, organized, performed at, and just did everything for. Now, this event was on February 6th. It was in Brooklyn, New York at Our Wicked Lady bar. That is a very interesting bar. This was my first time being at Our Wicked Lady, and I do look forward to going back there for other events, both music-wise and hopefully, he does these events again. He picks the same bar because it is just a very interesting bar to go into. It looks kind of small. There's not a lot going on. Their bathrooms are it's like a club. They have like lights. There's like a light show in each one of the bathroom stalls. It's very interesting. And they hosted the fashion show deathmatch event in the upstairs rooftop area. It was a benefit for the Trans Women of Color Collective. I would highly suggest checking them out either during listening to this or afterwards because they are a really great organization. And I really liked that on top of everything, he made it a fundraiser for an organization like this. So if you don't know anything about MV Young, he is a wrestler from the East Coast, and he has sort of rebranded himself in the last probably 9 months or so, one by renaming himself MV Young, and he is the leader of the poly cult. Now, if you're not familiar with polyamory or have never heard the term poly cult, one, you could Google it, but just a very brief rundown. Polyamory is sort of having multiple relationships at once. There are different degrees, different types and styles, but basically it's sort of like being in an opened relationship, but there can be rules and parameters. Every one of the polyamorous relationships that I've heard of is different. Some people, you have a certain amount of partners. Some people have like partners that they all share. Some just have, like, I have one partner and then I have a second partner, but my two partners are not involved with each other. It just depends. But he's just starting an entire movement, I guess you could say, around it, bringing awareness to it, really. It's not something where I'm from in Illinois, a smaller area. Not a lot of people are familiar with the concept of polyamory or open relationships or just different things like that. So it is very interesting to see it being brought into a wider spectrum of wrestling, you are starting to see, especially in the indies, they are having, you have the gay wrestlers, lesbian, there's a lot of transgendered people that are breaking through that are really amazing. And you're starting to see all these different representations. So seeing polyamory also now being brought into the mix, I think that it's a perfect way not only to tie things together, but it can just be used in so many different ways. So MV, with sort of his other backgrounds, he's created this poly cult. He has different rules that vary from all kinds of different things. He refers to himself in the third person. If you see him on Twitter, he's always like, MV wants you to do this, or please respect MV's opinion on this, or just different things, but always where you would say I, he says MV, which I always kind of like those stylistic choices. I think that it is entertaining for people to refer to themselves in third person. They can go overboard, but he's definitely using it very nicely. And he also uses a ring light a lot, and it's like a smaller one that you just kind of like hold. So he will make a little promo video on Twitter announcing like a new polycult rule, or just talking to his fans, and he'll always have the ring light. There was one he made last week where he actually had it, and it was broad daylight. I don't know if the light was even turned on, but he still had it. And I thought that that was really cool. So if you haven't checked him out, I think he is going to be one of the people that's going to kind of blow up in the indies in probably this entire year. It is February now. It's almost March. And it's crazy to think that this year he's already kind of gone out a little bit. He wrestled in Indiana this past Sunday, and that was a really great match. He is just very captivating, and I feel like he is good for people that are into the whole idea of polyamory, or just need representation, or are just into his attitude or the gimmick. But he's also good at, if you're not into that, if you're for some reason somebody that's like, you have to be in an exclusive relationship and stuff like that, I feel like he would be an easy person to dislike. So he could make arguments either way. You can easily love him or you can easily not love him, but that's kind of the goal in a way. You don't want to be a wrestler where you're just like, they're okay. You want to have a reaction, whether it be good or bad, and it really helps tell the stories in the ring, which is something that he is very good at. So back to sort of this event, it was announced, I heard about it in January. I heard about it because I was watching either Raw or AEW, I don't remember which one, and I got a notification on Twitter that Logan Stunt had retweeted him whenever he announced it, and it was just amazing. I think I saw that it was like in Brooklyn, and it was him sort of on the stripper pole with these wings, and it was just this iconic like picture that was made, and I was like, I have to go to this. Like, it's in Brooklyn, I live in Brooklyn, like there's no reason that I shouldn't be going. And then I looked at the date, and it was on my birthday. So this event is on my birthday. It's a fashion show wrestling concert, and the performing act that was announced was named Birthday Girl. So on my birthday, when I'm the birthday girl, there will be a band called Birthday Girl. How can I not go? So I immediately took a screenshot, sent it to like all of my friends, and then I also put on Twitter like, I have to go to this, like this is on my birthday. I was freaking out, and a lot of people kind of reacted to it. My friends who are not wrestling fans at all were really excited to go because, I have a lot of friends that they're not into wrestling, but they are into fashion, or they are into makeup, or they do like live music. So it kind of had something for everybody. So I could use this event and the fact that it was my birthday to make people that I usually can't get to go out with me to these kinds of things to go out with me. And then hopefully they would like what they see and would maybe be open to going to other places with me, or to at least look at wrestling in a different way. And then it also sort of gave me the chance to be present at a fashion show. That's not something that I've been to. I do have a couple of designer friends that have had shows, but I just wasn't able to make it. But I was like, this is gonna be really cool and really interesting, and I was just so excited to go. So, for the last month and a half or so, just looking forward to it, continually talking to people about it and figuring it out. And then eventually even, talking to MV behind the scenes a little bit on Twitter and being like, I'm really excited about this event because it really does bring a wider audience to this. There are going to be a lot of people that are there for the bands or for the fashion that are going to stay for the wrestling. And hopefully, it's just a big melting pot event. And then it's also for a great cause. And it sounded like that was sort of the idea behind all of it. And it is to show that like wrestling can be more than just one thing. It's not just something that you see on TV like WWE or AEW. Like it can be so much more. So the day came. It was amazing. I instantly was like trying my best to find a way to buy tickets in advance because I just had a feeling that this was going to be an event that sold out. I was originally told that they didn't do advance sales, but I did find something that the bar had on Eventbrite. And the bar, I don't know if this was done intentionally, but like MV advertised it as one thing and the bar advertised it as like something else completely. They were like WrestleMania concert thing. And I was just like, I remember sending him the link to the tickets on Twitter and I was just like, I'm really confused. Is this the same thing? Like, I just don't want to buy tickets to something and then it be, a scam or something. Like, I want to give the money and I'm going to go regardless. I just, I want to make sure that I'm able to go because I would be really bummed if like I've been planning this and then like it sells out or something before I get to be there. So I ended up getting the tickets. It was great. We went to the bar a little bit early. He had announced that there were some things and they were going to end up opening up a little bit later than they had anticipated. And sort of now, instead of it being exactly what was advertised, it was that. And then they had also added a couple of bands. I guess the bar had, I don't know, just added some performers to the show. So it was very, very good and very interesting. So I had no idea what to expect. We sort of all dressed almost more for a fashion show. I mean, it was my birthday, so I wore a little bit different types of clothes than what I would normally wear, but I did wear like this plaid dress and it was really cool. So we got there, my friends had no idea what to expect, and I was just so excited to be there. So we go up to the roof and it just looks sort of concert-ish. The first thing that was done was the performance by Birthday Girl, and I would say that they were probably my favorite band performers of the night. And it wasn't just because like I was the birthday girl and they were called Birthday Girl. They just have a sound that is kind of what I'm into musically a little bit more than the other two bands. The other two bands were good, but I definitely have like a ranking of my favorite and least favorite, and Birthday Girl was definitely my favorite of the night. And I remember whenever I originally tweeted about this, the lead singer from Birthday Girl was like, oh my gosh, like that's your birthday, that's so cool, like can I sing you happy birthday? And I was just like, yeah, that would be amazing. So I hadn't talked to her about that since. I was just the whole time like, I wonder if that's still gonna happen. Like that would be kind of cool but kind of weird. And in I think the middle of their performance, they did end up asking like, is it anybody's birthday here today or tomorrow? Because the next day on February 7th was her birthday. And there were probably 5 of us that were celebrating birthdays. So they brought us up on stage. They had a cake and they lit candles and they had everyone in attendance sing happy birthday to us. And that was really cool. It was definitely, I've never been to a concert or something like that where I'm on the stage looking at the crowd instead of being, in the crowd looking at the stage. So it was a very cool moment. There have been some pictures that I've seen on Instagram of it, and my friends recorded it. And that was probably one of my favorite parts of the night, just because it was just really surreal and it just made you part of it. So thank you, birthday girl, for that moment for me. The cake would come into play a little bit later, but it was originally brought there, to my knowledge, to, I guess, celebrate anyone who had a birthday, and then also to celebrate the lead singer whose birthday was at midnight. So after that, they brought out the host of the evening, Larry Legend, which he is a very good announcer. If you're not familiar with him, please look him up. He's very entertaining. He's very good. And he was just the perfect MC for the night, basically. He announced the first death match of the evening, which was between Billy Dixon and the Gavel David Lawless. If you're not familiar, David Lawless is a lawyer. He has very pro-Trump rules, and it was definitely not the type of place or event that a Trump supporter would be found at. So he came out, Billy Dixon came out. They had a really cool match. They brought out some scooters. They brought out like razor scooters, and they had Metro cards being used for paper cuts. And it wasn't as death matchy as a lot of death matches, but it was really good. And my friends really enjoyed that match a lot. So it was kind of all I could ask for in the moment, was for them to like it. It was sort of a lot of these people's first experience to wrestling, besides just various things that I've shown them on YouTube or on Twitter. So to have them there, there wasn't a ring. So in the crowd was where the match took place. So there was times where like these people were like right by, our feet. And I'm just like, guys, like, it's okay. They had kind of heard of, if you guys listened to my podcast about GCW's I Can't Feel My Face, that at that event, there was some crowd moments, and a lot of the people in the crowd ended up with blood and various things on them. And that didn't happen with this match. I don't know that there was really any blood spilled in the first match, but it was a concern of some friends of mine going into it. They're like, no, like, we don't want blood on us. Like, we don't want it to be like that other event that you went to. And I'm like, guys, like, I've never been to this. Like, this kind of thing hasn't been done before. I don't know what to expect, but this is what we have. So it was a great match. Billy Dixon ended up winning. Not really a surprise. And it was just amazing. So after the event, there was the fashion show, and they had a few different designers. I think it was 3 altogether. And the array of models that they had were just amazing. It was very all-inclusive. Like, if you go to these events, you're going to get all-inclusive, very positive, like, no one's going to be inappropriate, homophobic, racist, sexist. Like, you're just gonna have the most accepting people ever, and if not, then you're gonna get kicked out and you're gonna get banned. And I really think that organizations that are embracing that type of behavior are really gonna be the ones to watch going forward, because it's sad, but there are still a lot of things out there that aren't the best. But the ones that are embracing sort of this new outlook on wrestling are gonna be the ones that you want to pay attention to. And any event that MV Young is present at, or any event that he is hosting, is gonna be this way. And he kind of makes that clear on social media. Like, if anyone sees anything and I'm there, like, come and get me. These people are gonna be removed. They're not welcome here. And that's really comforting as somebody that's been at events where people have been inappropriate. I've been to many events where there's not a lot of female wrestling fans sometimes. You get it sometimes and sometimes you don't. And especially if you're there alone, you're going to get people that are just disgusting and inappropriate. Maybe not even towards you, but if you're at an event where there's other females wrestling. You know, sometimes you'll get like the people making the like lewd comments about the wrestlers and like looking at parts of their body and saying inappropriate things, and it's just so gross and so just uncalled for. But this is definitely a positive atmosphere. We just want to enjoy the show and, you know, all live in harmony, maybe make a new friend, have some drinks of various alcoholic or non-alcoholic, and just, you know, live your best life and have a great experience. So the fashion show involved models from all of the different, if there was something that you could think of, they had a model for it. They had models in wheelchairs, they had plus size, they had, you know, small people, bigger bodied people, they had male, they had female, they had, you know, transgendered models, LGBT, like everything that you could imagine, like there was a model for it. And it was just really cool to see like all these different people. The clothes were really awesome. I don't remember all of the designers' names or any of them actually, but there was like one designer that a lot of the clothes looked almost knitted, and they reminded me of some of like the Afghan quilt kind of things that my family used to make a lot, and it just made me want to go home and like get different blankets and just like cut them up into clothing because it just looked so amazing. So that'll probably be one that I kind of look up later on, because they were just really cool to see, you know, something that I've used to keep warm for all these years being used in a different way. So the fashion show was really cool. It caught my friend's interest for sure. That was the main reason that they were there. And after that, we got to see a couple more awesome bands. There was Carrabba's Barabbas, which not exactly my type of music. Like the music was okay, but kind of some of the song inspirations and stuff was a little off for me, but it's fine. And then Fleshlight Suicide was having a album release party at the same event. I believe that was something that was just booked by the bar. That wasn't something that was intended when this event was created, but their music was pretty good. I didn't hate it for sure, and I would definitely go and see them again. So there was all of that. Unfortunately, in the middle of Fleshlight Suicide, I did have a couple of my friends leave because they had to work the next morning and they just wanted to go home. You know, if you live in New York, sometimes you have an hour or more ride home. So they went home. They had a bit of an experience with one of the talent on the card. It was a little weird for them because it wasn't the most positive experience, but I'm not gonna like spill the tea and give out all the details because, you know, it's just people living their lives and you're not gonna agree with everybody on everything. But it was just like they texted me and were just like, you know, this just happened, and it was just a little surprising to them. So that's what you get sometimes. And then the main event of the evening was Envy Young versus Casanova Valentine. Now, both of these people are very talented. They're very amazing. Casanova is definitely really good at the deathmatch scene, and it was definitely going to be a crazy time. So for the first match, it was good. It wasn't exactly the death match that I was expecting, and it sort of stayed in one general area. They did go a little bit back and forth, but for the most part, it stayed, you know, they stayed in the front, they went to the back for a little bit, and then they just did everything else in the front. This one, it went all over at one point. You know, they started in the front, they instantly went to the back, and then back to the front, and then back to the back. At one point, they were on the bar, wrestling on top of the bar. They, you know, if there was a surface, it was being used for this match. They had stools and things against the walls for people to sit on. They were, you know, on top of those. They brought out tables. Casanova originally came out with a bunch of light tubes. Those are commonly seen in death matches for weapons, and just seeing those instantly, like I knew, like, okay, like this is about to happen. My friends had no idea, and they saw it. They were like, what is happening? I'm like, it's fine, like it's normal, just it's gonna be okay. Blood was pouring very early on, and it was just a really great classic death match. You had both sides kind of being dominant at different points. You had MV do a move onto Casanova and put him not through a recycling bin, but he definitely squished a recycling bin. He was definitely going to be out for recycling. But at least he chose to recycle instead of use as trash, because people are not trash, we can be recycled. So it was just such a great match, and I didn't even get to see all of it necessarily because it was just in the crowd. So there were parts where like I was too short to see and I wasn't in the front. But the birthday cake that was used to sing to me and the other birthday participants during the birthday girl session was now being used by MV to smash into Casanova, and then he rubbed some frosting all over his face, and I was just like, that's just amazing that like I was presented with this cake and now this is being used as a prop in a match. So that was probably one of the highlights of the match for me, as well as one of my friends, my final friend, left the match early, and I was disappointed, but I kind of knew once some of my friends started leaving that it was just a matter of time before I was alone, which is fine. I really don't mind going to wrestling events alone. In most instances, I actually prefer it. But after they were gone, I think it was literally like 30 seconds after they had left, you see Casanova come out with what he calls Satan cock, which is like a dildo with various sized nails through it in various directions. It's sort of almost like his version of Janice, if you're familiar with Abyss. Although Janice was barbed wire, I can't think of I can picture the weapons I've seen like used on TV that are like this, only I don't remember if they have specific names. But this was Satan cock, and I don't exactly know how Satan cock was used, but I do know that it did get used on MV, and the crowd reaction was pretty amazing. If anyone has video of that, I would be interested in seeing it. I've kind of heard a few things, but they kind of vary and are not exactly the same, so I don't know what the real story is. But that was very entertaining. Just a quick note, after Satan Cock was used in this match, someone from the crowd apparently stole it, and it ended up making its way onto the L train and eventually kind of going viral on Instagram. There's an account that put a picture and video of Satan Cock. Apparently, whoever stole it just kind of left it on the train, which is very annoying and disrespectful. Casanova Valentine is currently still looking for Satan Cock. If anyone has any idea of Satan Cock's whereabouts, please contact Casanova Valentine on Twitter and let him know, because he would really like to have his cock back. Now back to your regularly scheduled program. MV was put through 2 different tables, I believe. This one, they definitely did use tables. It wasn't doors like previous events that I've been to. And it was really cool to like see how they were used. By the end of it, between the glass tubes and all of the wood shards and Satan cock and all the things, MV was very, very bruised, battered, bloody, and it just became more evident as it went. At one point, you can watch some of the clips on Twitter. There's a table, and the table just looks like it's just covered in blood. It just looks like, something was butchered on the table, and I'm pretty sure that was probably where the majority of MV, he ended up with an arm injury that required stitches, and I'm pretty sure that maybe that was where the the blood went whenever his arm was opened up. Maybe that is where that blood came from. But either way, I'm pretty sure it was mostly his blood. Casanova did have his own injuries and his own blood, but MV, I think, definitely got the worst of this event. But I mean, that's, you put on the event, you want to put on a show, you want to have the best reactions and the best matches, and you go out there, you give it your all, and you put it all on the line. And that's exactly what he did. And I think it made the match that much better. So MV did end up, unfortunately, being defeated. But I think in the end, he's the one that won because he brought everyone there. He had this great event that every time he has one, I want to go to every single Fashion Week death match that he does. If he ever does any others, I would gladly go. And I would travel, if he does end up doing this. WrestleMania was announced next year for being in LA. They're going back to like the Hollywood theme, and he has talked about having one then because LA also has a fashion week, and I would travel to LA to see that for sure. So MV, like, please do it and let me know, and I'll go. Like, I would gladly go. So if you guys are ever in New York or potentially LA or anywhere, just follow MV Young on Twitter at the only MV Young, and you'll be able to find out for yourself when the next Fashion Week's death matches are going to happen. And as soon as it happens, definitely, get on it, order your tickets, tell your friends, invite everyone there. There was a girl there. I don't know her name because I don't really watch the show anymore. I did used to watch it back in the day, but there was a girl there that was on America's Next Top Model, and her reactions during some of the deathmatch stuff were really priceless. But my friend, like, he's into fashion, he loves that show, so he like latched onto her like right away, like, oh my god, she's there, like I should go say hi. I don't think he ended up saying hi, but he was then told later on, like, oh, you should have went to say hi, like, she really likes that, like she likes being recognized. So in the event that that's true, like, a lady from America's Next Top Model, like, my friend, he recognized you, but he didn't go say hi, but he has regrets. And I guess that's the majority of what I have to say about MV Young's Fashion Week. Just besides, thank you so much, MV, for everything. You went and had this event happened on a Thursday. He went and got stitches in the hospital on Friday, and then on Saturday he was wrestling again, and then on Sunday he was wrestling again, and none of them were in the same area. He went from Brooklyn to Pennsylvania to Indianapolis. I'm guessing back to Pennsylvania because I believe that's where he lives. And now he's just recovering. He's been posting updates on Twitter all the time about his wounds. And apparently the polycult in the majority is not happy with him because, he's a model and now he's all like scarred up and stuff. But as somebody that was at it, I'm like, I'm in the polycult, MV, and I'm not mad. I'm not mad at you. I'm not mad at your injuries. I appreciate you. And if you need anything, like, reach out. I'm there. Like, I already told him, his merch table was unmanned, and I think that it really needed a person there. I've already volunteered to be the merch person at any and all events that MV Young goes to. So seriously, MV, if you listen to this, reach out. I'm ready and willing to help, and it's completely fine. The next subject that I want to talk about is Nyla Rose. If you're unfamiliar with Nyla, she is on the AEW roster. She has been a very dominant force. She was temporarily suspended for late last year for putting a referee through a table. That's sort of become one of her signature moves, is putting various people through tables. She tends to get them out during each one of her matches, even if they're not matches that you can use tables in. And it's just sort of part of her persona. Off of wrestling, she has a really good presence on Twitter. She's very entertaining to watch her talk on social media. And to me, a thing about her that it doesn't matter to me at all, but Nyla is a transgendered woman. For those who for some reason might not be familiar, that is a person who was born a male but has transitioned through the years into a female. So she is female. She's in the women's roster and she's a force to be reckoned with. Now, this past Wednesday on Dynamite, she faced Riho, who is their current women's champion, for the title. And after a really good match that could have went either way, she won the title. And this was sort of a big deal for multiple reasons. It is the first time a transgendered woman has won a title like this on a big stage. And it's historic for a few different reasons. But, it's also the first big title change that AEW has had. They do have new tag champions now, but hers is, there's the two main titles, the men's title and the women's title, and this is the first title change that they've had. So for her to be the second women's champion, it has a certain level of history in itself. So I instantly am very happy and very glad that they're doing this. And it really doesn't have anything to do with the fact that she's transgender. Like, yes, that's historic. Like, that's amazing for that community. But you have seen, if you go on various websites, whether it's AEW or just various message boards, there are a lot of people that are sending a lot of hate. And this is sort of a debate that you get in any women's sport. It's sadly mainly in the women's department. If you have a trans woman, it seems like nothing that she can do is ever going to be good enough because, oh, well, she was once a man, so that is an unfair advantage. And I was talking to a coworker about this today, and he's not a wrestling fan at all, but it was just bringing up the debate and me being like, it really doesn't matter if she was born a man, she was born a woman, she has the it just doesn't matter to me in this match. What would have been more, I guess, controversial, or if I was going to dispute her win, it would have been based solely on just the size. Riho is a very small, petite lady. She weighs like 98 pounds, and Nyla is a bigger figured person. I don't know her weight, but it's definitely a lot more than Riho. But that isn't because she's transgendered. You have lots of people in the real world, in sports of all different types, as well as professional wrestling, that are, larger bodied people. And it has nothing to do with their gender. It's just body type and body size. So to me, that would be the only thing. Like, well, of course, it's more believable that she wins because of her size. But Riho has defeated her in the past. So, it can go either way. But just because you're born one sex doesn't mean that it gives you an advantage. If she was a trans man winning the men's title, I don't think that people would have been like, oh no, it's a woman. Or no one really gave that kind of backlash to Tessa Blanchard for winning the men's title. It was sort of like, oh, look at this woman, like she's changing history, like she's making history and showing that like women can do anything that men can do. But if you have the opposite, like here in Nyla's instance, it's sort of like, oh yeah, well, it's a man, it's unfair. But I know every person is different. You have some women that are built in certain ways, and then you have other women that are built in others. I have to work very hard to have any sort of upper body strength. I can lift weights and I can build it and it can be there, but if I don't stay with it, I can lose it very quickly. And then there are some people that are just naturally very strong in their upper body. And it is sort of a gender thing. Like, women do stereotypically have less upper body strength than men, but at the same time, it's not exclusive. There are men of all different types and sizes. And I think that if Nyla was a transgendered woman, but she was the size of Riho instead of maybe the size of like Awesome Kong, then it wouldn't be as debated. But I think that people are just associating her size with the fact that she's transgendered, and that's not part of it. That's just people are built differently, and that doesn't mean that you have an advantage. You can be a man and still be not the strongest or not the ideal man, or you can be, chiseled out of stone and be like this muscular perfection. And the same goes for women. So Nyla didn't Nyla it has nothing to do with the fact that she's trans, on top of the fact that, like, I'm sorry, but wrestling, it's a story and it is still scripted to a degree. Like, the writers of AEW or the creative or whoever makes those decisions are the ones that decided, like, she's worth putting the belt on at this time. Like, she's earned it. So it was written that way. And that's it, in transgendered sports of any type. It still takes skill. Just because if you're a basketball player and you play for the WNBA instead of the NBA, like, that's fine. You still have the talent. If a woman went from the NBA to the NBA, they would be praised for, like, breaking all of these glass walls. But if it's the opposite, it's unfair. And I just want to say that as a cis woman, it doesn't bother me having, a trans woman be in this sport and be dominating and be dominant. I don't see it as unfair at all. And if I was in the sport, I wouldn't see it as unfair because, the same things are expected of us. And, we go to work every day and we do the same jobs, and it's just fine. So people who are upset about it, people that are saying that it's not fair, like, honestly, it's 2020. You need to just get over it. It's not a big deal. She's not hurting anybody. She's not going out there and being, like, flaunting of anything. It's not, it is a big deal that she's been given this opportunity, but it's not a big deal for the reason that people are making it a big deal. Like, there's no need for the hate. There's no need for anything but love. This could have been anyone else on the roster and it would be fine. And I think that if she had faced Jericho and won the men's title, she would be praised. But because she faced Riho, she was sort of shunned or critiqued in a different way. And to me, it's no different than if it had been Shida or Britt Baker or anything else. They didn't comment on Nyla as heavily whenever she was just facing other people. It was whenever she was given the chance at the title, that's when it became a problem. And people just need to get over it. These kinds of things are becoming more popular and they're becoming more out there. It's just a matter of time before this is a normal thing that you just see. And I think that if it wasn't known that she was transgendered, I mean, you can't tell by looking at her. You can't tell by anything. It's just, it's spread by looking it up on the internet. She's not someone that hides it. I don't know that that's the thing. And there are many transgender people in wrestling right now, and they're all killing it. There's, in California, my favorite transgender wrestler is the Dark Sheik. And if you haven't looked her up, she organizes Hood Slam. She's doing a lot for the industry as well, and she's really killing it on the West Coast. And I love going there just to see her. And she faces men, but she also faces women. And mainly that's just because intergender matches are very common in a lot of indie wrestling. You see it all the time. Kylie Ray is facing men all the time. Alley Cat. You'll have rumbles where there's men and women. And it's really AEW, even on the Jericho Cruise, had Penelope Ford and Kip Sabian facing Riho and Kenny Omega, and it was really awesome to see Riho and Kip Sabian like go at each other, and no one really said anything about that. Everyone praised that match. Everyone praised seeing the two of them together and seeing, Kenny Omega and Penelope Ford have their moment, and no one really said anything about that. It wasn't like, look at this man beating up on this woman, but that's an intergender match, which some organizations have phased out. WWE doesn't do that anymore currently, and AEW kind of stayed away from it. I don't know if it's something that we're going to see in the future, but to me, seeing if those kinds of matches are acceptable, then it's completely fine having, Nyla wants to be the women's champion. That's her goal. Usually in wrestling, you have a goal. If you're exclusively going to be tag team like the Young Bucks or some of the other tag teams, like anyone in the tag team division really of AEW, obviously the end goal for you is going to be the tag team titles. If you're a woman in the women's division, your goal is going to be to have that women's title, and that's what she wanted, and that's exactly what she got. So I think she's going to have a good run at this. I don't think it's going to be something where they only have it on her for a little bit and then they put it on Shida. I do think, to me, the next two people that are going to be in the running for it will be Shida or Britt Baker, just because they are doing a lot with Britt Baker right now, especially with Tony Schiavone. But I'm really excited to see Nyla as the champion, and it's not because of her gender or anything. It's just because she is a really polarizing character, and she's very captivating, and I like watching her promos and everything. And AEW, please, last night after she won, she had this moment with Kenny Omega and with the rest of the AEW women's roster, and they had it on picture-in-picture so that you could see it, but you could not hear it. And please release that, because it looked really good, whatever it was, and I want to hear it as well as see it, and so many other fans do as well. So please give us that, and please let Nyla have an amazing run as champion. So far they've done really well. It's not like other organizations where they have done bad matches or bad, with the size difference between Nyla and Riho, it easily could have been a thing where Nyla just looked at Riho and she fell over and was down for the count. But they utilize their talent and they let them both shine, and they had a really, really good match that could have went either way. So if you're one of those people that was writing bad things on AEW's Twitter or Instagram or any of that, please don't listen to this podcast anymore. Please go and educate yourself and just become a better human being. There's no need for hate against anybody in this day and age, unless, they're doing an actual crime. But living your truth and living your best life is not a crime. And it's what you should be doing instead of hating on it. Don't worry about what other people are doing. Worry about yourself and how to make yourself the best version of you. So with that, I would suggest, if you're going to watch a match this week, maybe go back and watch the Riho Nyla Rose match, or maybe look up some stuff from MV Young on YouTube. He has a lot of matches online and they're all amazing. So go check both of them out. I highly recommend it, and I will see you in the next podcast. Bye, guys.